Curtis Riggs Show. The head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, KWSN, and KWSN.com. The Curtis Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute. Now, here's your host of the Curtis Riggs Show, the voice of the Sioux Falls Storm, Rich Rosti.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Curtis Riggs Show. And during today's show, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach about the win up in Bismarck, North Dakota, last Saturday against the Bucks, 52-18. Then also on the Curtis Riggs Show, we're going to have a couple of new players. Running back Darian Miller and defensive back Matt McCoy. Then in our final segment with Coach, we'll be talking about the next opponent for the Sioux Falls Storm. That's Quad City Steamwheelers. And they play the Storm this Friday night, not Saturday, but Friday night at 7:05 at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. And you can hear that game on our sister station, FM 107.9, starting with our pregame show at 5. Check that, 6:45 for that 7:05 kickoff. And it's also the Storm replica jersey giveaway night. The first 1,000 kids through the door, 12 and under, will receive a Storm replica jersey, courtesy of Waterbury Heating and Cooling and Coleman Heating and Air Conditioning. Doors open at 6 o'clock. They are also the sponsor of the game. The Curtis Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine provider, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and this is the Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
If you haven't been to Eastway Sports Lounge and Grill.
On the average day, the Winklers are a splendid little family. But today is not your average day. It all started when little Susie went in for her first bite of cereal. Dad went to investigate, but had issues of his own along the way. That's when it became blatantly clear the furnace was broken, and it was time to call the service guys. Waterbury, we are service.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And each week, our opening interview with the Storm head coach is brought to you by the great folks at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Storm sponsors since day one. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. Baked fresh, sliced fresh, delivered fresh. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Number one in delivery sales for the Good Sense franchise system for the past 20 years. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. How you doing after that long trip up to Bismarck, North Dakota?
I'm good. Yeah, it was a lot better than our trips from Cedar Rapids and Grand Island.
It's still a long ways up there, but it was a trip that we could describe as uneventful, based on the weather that we were anticipating. It was not there, but it was just an easy trip as far as that was concerned.
Yeah, I mean it's a jaunt, that's for sure, but it wasn't near what we expected. I thought we were going to have to go through a lot of snow, and really we didn't see a lot of water either.
No, not too bad at all. Now, around the IFL, it was kind of a light week for the IFL. Just a few games that went on. The Sioux Falls Storm was victorious in their game up against the Bismarck Bucks, 52-18. And then on Friday night, it was Quad Cities, and they had traveled to Cedar Rapids to take on the River Kings, and Quad City is our opponent this week on Friday night. But Quad City is victorious in that game, 58-36. Tell us about that ball game, what you might know about it.
Well, it was back and forth first half, and then Quad Cities just warmed down. Was able to get some turnovers, and able to just keep the pressure on offensively. They're playing very well. I think they have a quarterback that's settled down, very good receiving crew, a big offensive line, and then defensively, they put some pressure on you. Their defensive line is very athletic and fast, and they are pretty relentless. They continue to come play after play.
And we'll be talking about them in a little bit more detail in the final segment with the coach this afternoon. And the other game that went on Saturday was at Phoenix, Arizona, as the Rattlers hosted the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and Arizona victorious in that game 63-28. Tell us about that ball game.
Really, I didn't watch any of this one, Rich. I thought it, just interesting. Tucson with Kevin Guy being part owner, going against the Rattlers, who's coached by Kevin Guy. And it looked like, early on, Tucson was able to kind of stay with them. But the thing I've seen this year is Arizona is just a notch above right now because they brought so many guys back. They have so many guys back from their team. And really in the important positions, they're able to keep those guys. The offensive line's all back. Both quarterbacks are back. So they're really not trying to fill anything out. They're just playing and getting better each week.
And we'll be playing down in Arizona in 2 weeks as we have the Steamwheelers this weekend, and then on March 31st, that's a Sunday game. Storm will be down in Phoenix, Arizona to take on the Rattlers. That's a 4:05 kickoff Central Time on Sunday, March 31st. Other games that went on, well, actually no other games. Byes for the other teams, Iowa, Green Bay, Nebraska, and San Diego. And we talked about this on the bus a little bit, that, Iowa getting 2 byes so very close together, especially early in the season. How does that make things complicated for a coach putting a team together?
Well, it's twofold. One, they're going to have to play a lot of weeks with very little rest, which just wears you down. But on a positive, sometimes, when you start to do that, you start to click and play really well, and you're really in sync. And sometimes a bye can throw you off of that. So it can work 2 different ways for them, but I think it's tough. You get both those byes early in the season like they have. They'll have one more. I just find it weird that we're a 10-team league, and we have 4 teams on a bye. I would think scheduling wise, we'd be able to more effectively get more of the teams playing. But I know a lot of it's based on their arenas, and right now there's a lot of basketball going on that's finishing up, and a lot of hockey.
Yeah, I heard basketball is a game that's going to catch on pretty good sometime. And this time of the year seems like they kind of showcase it a little bit more than ever.
Yeah, weird how that is.
Around the IFL, the standings are right now. The Storm and the Rattlers tied for number 1 with 3-0 records. Iowa is 2-0. Then Tucson and Quad Cities are both 2-1. Then Green Bay and Nebraska are 1-2. Cedar Rapids 1-3, and then the Bismarck Bucks and the San Diego Strike Force are both 0-3 on the year. Coming up on April 20th, that's when the Sioux Falls Storm will be hosting the Iowa Barnstormers when they come to town. Again, that's on April 20th. Coach, when we come back, we'll talk about that win up at Bismarck. You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. Baked fresh, sliced fresh, delivered fresh. And they're the number 1 delivery sales for the entire Good Sense franchise system for the past 20 years. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. We'll be back. This is the Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. And this recap is brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party host for all Storm fans. And the next viewing party is on Sunday, March 31st, as the Storm travels to Phoenix, Arizona to take on the Rattlers. Again, kickoff at 4:05 against Sunday, March 31st. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. You go up to Bismarck, North Dakota, come away with the win 52-18. We have just a few highlights that I want to play, but your team jumped off to a 24-0 start very, very early. How can having a big lead not always be the best thing in a game?
Well, I think I would rather deal with that problem, but yeah,
Yes.
I mean, some of the issues it does lead to is complacency, and you start to just go through the motions rather than continuing to have that killer instinct as you did to start the game off.
Your defense is getting better every week. The first week you gave up 47 points, the next week 36, last week 18, and included in that 18 was a kick return for a touchdown. Tell us about how your defense has progressed this season.
Well, I think you're right. I think they have gotten better. I think a lot of the inexperience has really worked hard to get more comfortable and starting to trust the guys next to them. I think that's a pretty key ingredient too. So I think we're progressing in the right direction, and I think we'll get two big tests coming up here the next couple weeks.
Oh, I believe that, taking on the Steam Wheelers this weekend and Arizona the following weekend. Now, let's go to the highlights. We have just a couple of them. I want to talk about each of them just a little bit. Here's our first highlight.
3rd down and 5 for the Bismarck Bucks. And it is Clark splitting to the right side. Tatum in motion deep left. Also, Abraham deep right. Fires upfield. Picked off! Picked off by the Sioux Falls Storm. Matt McCoy. He'll take it down the left sideline. All the way into the end zone. Touchdown. 35-yard pick six.
And Matt McCoy on the season, 10 tackles, an interception, a fumble forced, and a fumble recovered. And that was a great way to set up the scoring for the Sioux Falls Storm as it progressed after that, but key play at that point of the game.
Well, I think it just really started to pull things apart for Bismarck. You know, we got the interception, then we got the turnover for a touchdown on special teams. And then the offense came back out after a stop and scored. And you could just see Bismarck pressing them, really trying to do things that they're not comfortable with doing, and the game just falling apart.
Here's our next highlight.
And the Storm lead 17-0. And now Bergner advances the ball, puts it on the side, kicks a helicopter rolling down. Tatum going to try to field it against the board. He winds up in the end zone. He's got to get out, otherwise it's a rouge. He's hit in the end zone. Ball comes out. Is that a fumble? Is it recovered by Sioux Falls? And with that is DeAndre Scott. And the officials are going to talk it over, and it's a touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm.
And DeAndre Scott, also leading tackler with the Sioux Falls Storm this year. 16 tackles, an interception, a broken pass, and a fumble recovery. And again, special teams are a big part of every game, and getting a fumble recovery in the end zone was huge. It put you up by 24-0, and like you said, it really set the tone, and it really set Bismarck back quite a bit at that particular time.
It did, yeah. And anytime you get a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, I mean, those are just points that are ones that are hard to overcome. And you could see it was very demoralizing for Bismarck to give up the interception for a touchdown, but then right the very next play to give up the kick return where they fumbled coming out of the end zone and to give us another touchdown that way.
And here's our final highlight.
13:34 to play in this third quarter. Storm leading 45-10. 2nd down and 5. Lorenzo Brown puts trips to the right side, 2 in motion, right slot. Lorenzo Brown's going to launch it downfield, looking there for Shepard. Over the shoulder catch at the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm.
And it was just a beautiful pass and catch. And it was just a great play to have for the night. Lorenzo Brown, 9 of 16, 160 yards. He had an interception and a fumble, but he also had 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Shepard had 4 catches, 98 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. But it was just a great play, and I just wanted to highlight those two because when you hook up that perfectly, it just really looks great.
Well, and you're right. That was a beautiful pass by Lorenzo. And the DB was probably 10 yards off of Shepard, and Brandon just ran right by him, and Lorenzo made a perfect pass. And if Brandon, he dropped a long one later in the game, I mean, he would have probably ended up with about 140 yards receiving on the night. I mean, he had another great game. I thought Lorenzo played well. The interception I did not think was his fault at all. He made the right read. He made the right throw. It's just our receiver got totally caught out of position on the play, and I thought he did a good job managing the game.
Now, when you have a game that gets really lopsided, there isn't a lot of people to substitute, is it? There's only 21 players on the team. It's not like when you have a full complement of high school or college and you can start substituting, get a lot of guys in different places to play. You only have 21 to work with. But did you have a chance to rotate anybody and give them some different looks or some feels, or give you an opportunity to evaluate them in a different situation?
We were able to move some guys around. Yeah, I mean, Trayvon Chapman was able to move around a little bit, not as much as we would have liked to have gotten him moved around. We moved guys around a little bit on the offensive line, and then the DBs were able to continually rotate, which is always good. But, you just kind of would have liked to have done more, but it seemed like the second half just flew by. I mean, I think we got 3 possessions, it seemed like, was all. And, when they're having the ball for long periods of time but still not scoring, I mean, that's kind of what you want. You want that clock to just keep going and get us out of there. And that's one thing we were able to do, was get out of there without any injuries.
What pleased you most about the game up in Bismarck, and maybe things that disappointed you?
I think the best was that we got a win and we got out of there without any injuries. We played a team that we should beat, and we beat them pretty soundly. Probably the discouraging part would be, the second half just getting sloppy. And I think we've got to do a better job with these personal fouls. These are just careless, needless, emotional reactions. Brandon Shepard's was an awful call. That was a bad call. He was not trying to mash the guy's head or anything. You watch on film, he's like falling forward. But the rest are ones that we need to be smarter. And hitting the quarterback late, shoving a guy after the play, these are just things that we need to mature on the field.
Well, Coach, the win you have, you're 3-0 in the year. And a little bit later, we'll talk about the Steam Wheelers coming into town this Friday night for a ball game, and find out from you what they bring to the table.
All right, look forward to it, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And this segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party hosts. And the next viewing party is Sunday, March 31st, as the Storm travels to Phoenix, Arizona to take on the Rattlers. Kickoff is at 4:05, again, Sunday, March 31st. Coming up next, he is a running back with the Sioux Falls Storm, Darian Miller, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
First Premier Bank Free Plus Checking gives you the freedom to experience life, to enjoy the things you love, and to breeze through checkout lines with free mobile wallet features. Bank anywhere you want with online account opening and instant issue debit cards. Feel the freedom of no fees, no minimum balances, and no unpleasant surprises. First Premier Bank Free Plus Checking. Apply online or at any branch location. First Premier Bank, member FDIC.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roski.
And the player interview is brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And after we go to break, we'll take the third caller for the Storm game ticket giveaway. Third caller, 336-1230, 4 free tickets for the game this Friday night, March 22nd, when the Storm hosts the Quad City Steam Wheelers. And get on out. It's going to be a great night. Joining us now by the fan line, a new running back with the Sioux Falls Storm, Darian Miller. Darian, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Rossi.
I tell you what, tell us a little bit about your background. You put on your information sheet you came from a very small town. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm originally from a small town called Mabee, Missouri, probably about 45 minutes outside of Kansas City, Missouri, probably population 190. So I'm from a small town, but I went to high school in Blue Springs, Missouri, at Powerhouse High School, Blue Springs High School, and that's a little bit about me.
Now, you also said that you had an interest in agriculture and farming. Was that from growing up in that small town? Was that one of the principal parts of the economic stature of that community? Tell us about your interest in agriculture.
I've always had a slight interest in agriculture. I think just everything about the whole, in terms of plants, food, and that also was cultivated a little bit more whenever I end up working at Hy-Vee Floral. So I know a little bit about plants and whatnot, and just as a whole. So just a little bit about me.
Now, when you work, with flowers and things like that, people do not understand or realize how many different types of chemicals and fertilizers and all of that different types of chemical-based products that you need to know about, because each one affects plants differently, don't they?
Definitely. Whether it's pesticides or just things that promote growth, a lot of different things have different reactions to them. I wouldn't say that I'm the most knowledgeable in all of them, but in some of them. So that's just a little bit.
Talking with Darian Miller, running back with the Sioux Falls Storm. Now, after high school, you went and played college ball. Tell us about your times playing college ball.
I originally went to the University of Kansas and played there. Started a few games as true freshman year. Had a good season, and then I had left and came back maybe about a year later and played another season, and then transferred to Northern Iowa where I finished out. And so I've had the opportunity to play with some good people, as well as see good competition in the Big 12, as well as the Missouri Valley Conference. So,
tell us what it was like playing for UNI.
It was good playing at UNI. I got to meet a lot of good people, meet good coaches who took a good interest in their players. It was a little bit smaller than KU, so you seen people a little bit more often. But just playing there, playing with people from Iowa who may have been looked over, maybe not recruited as they were supposed to, play with the chip on their shoulder, and that definitely grounded me and allowed me to grind harder. So it was definitely a good decision to go there.
Plus, you get to play inside in the late part of the season down at the Unidome.
That's definitely one of the advantages of having the dome, as well as the crowd control, just things like that. But it's definitely an advantage we have over some teams.
Talking with Darian Miller, running back with the Sioux Falls Storm. How did you wind up here in Sioux Falls with the Storm?
Well, I played in Sioux City last year and had a good time out there and learned a lot. And had some success. And whenever free agency came about, I spoke with Coach Riggs about coming to play here. And just from being in close proximity with the area, I'd heard of the Storm and heard very good things about the program as well as the coaches. And so it was definitely a no-brainer whenever he called me. And I'm definitely blessed to come.
Now, since you've come to the Sioux Falls Storm, has it lived up to the expectations you had of this franchise and this team?
Yeah, if anything, I'd say it exceeded it. Everyone's really nice. The training staff has been, definitely more than I could ask for. As well as the coaches, we really came together pretty fast, and I think that's just being around good people who all have the same goal. And I'm definitely enjoying my time here. I've only been here for a short amount of time, but it's been good so far.
Well, the thing about it is that you've at least lived up in this part of the world. You understand about winter. That first night when we had our meeting, and I said to the guys, I said, well, it's a good thing you came now, because by May, most of the snow will be gone. And a lot of them looked at me like I was not kidding.
Definitely. Growing up in the Midwest, I'd had experience with cold weather, but it definitely got worse whenever I had went to Northern Iowa. Definitely been on a windy campus. The chill hits you in the face. But also being in Sioux City, I had a glimpse of what it was going to be like. But I'd say Sioux Falls is definitely a little harder to deal with.
This winter especially has been a lot harder, Darian. Well, I really appreciate everything that you do with the Sioux Falls Storm. You're a great running back. Tell us what you have found is where you really feel that you can excel and really be a contributor to the team. What is your forte is when it comes to playing football?
I think my biggest thing is just being unselfish. I definitely think that it takes each player to do the thing at the right phase to make everything come together. So I feel like I adapt very easily, whether it's the defenses needing us to throw more, and I can catch, as well as if it's a run-heavy game, then we'll run it out. Or whether it's blocking, I take a lot of pride in that and making sure everything goes together. So I think just being an unselfish player and never having to worry about getting mine, as to say. So
one of your responsibilities as a running back, and we're talking to Darian Miller of the Sioux Falls Storm. One of the real responsibilities you have is that blitzing linebacker, and I've watched you at times. You kind of like that, don't you?
Definitely. Pass pro is a big thing in the game, as well as just the position itself. Pass blocking is really like a one-on-one fight every time. So you definitely don't want to lose the fight. And it also helps the other guys excel. We have a good quarterback, Lorenzo Brown, and a lot of good receivers. So I feel like if I give him time to do what he does, then everything works out.
What would you like to do after football is all done?
I'd like to go back to Mayview and work on the farm and do everything that I said I would before.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I grew up on a farm, and the jobs that I did on the farm was picking rocks, walking the beans, and baling. I didn't see any fun jobs in farming because Dad usually rode the tractor, and I was out the one picking up the rocks.
That sounds good, man. Well, I'm glad you had a good time doing that as well. I know you definitely appreciate those times with your dad.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Darian, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show. We'll see you Friday night.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you then.
You bet. Darian Miller, running back with the Sioux Falls Storm. When we go to break, we'll take your third call at 336-1230. 4 free tickets for the game this Friday night, courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. Coming up next, defensive back Matt McCoy, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sports. Events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. And this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And after the break, we'll take your third caller, 336-1230. 4 free tickets for the game that's coming Friday, March 22nd, when the Storm hosts the Quad City Steamwheelers. Joining us now by the fan line, he is a defensive back with the Sioux Falls Storm, Matt McCoy. Matt, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. It was a great road trip up to Bismarck, North Dakota. Had you ever been up to Bismarck before?
No, I have not. It was a long trip, but I guess I enjoyed the ride, especially the ride back.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. Things are much better when you come off a wind. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. We'd like to let the fans get to know you a little bit. Where'd you grow up and where'd you go to college?
Yeah, well, I'm from the Metro Detroit area in Michigan. I went to college at a Division II school in Saginaw, Michigan, which is like an hour and a half away from the Detroit area. I went to Saginaw Valley State University, played it for 4 years, and been trying to get back in football ever since.
Well, I think that everybody has about that same goal. You get to a point, you get through your college career, you're looking for an opportunity to get a tryout somewhere. Have you had any tryouts at all?
Yeah, I have. Actually, well, my senior year, actually, I tore my ACL, and that was in 2016. So all of 2017, I spent recovering my knee, and then last year I was I had a pro day and did the NFL draft and all of that. I had some workouts with the Giants and the Colts, but nothing really, fell through after that. Had some CFL looks, but still nothing ended up happening. So this has been my first real opportunity to get back on the field, and I'm just nothing but grateful for it.
Well, one thing about it, what a lot of players don't always think about or realize is the fact if you are still playing, you have fresh tape of yourself playing for agents or for scouts to see and to find, and that's what's important, because if you have film that's 2 years old, scouts aren't even going to look at it, are they?
Exactly, and that's been the hardest thing. And it's been some teams. I know the Detroit Lions. They actually told me, it'd be best if you can just get some updated film. You know what I'm saying? We want to see what you look like now, and especially since I got hurt.
Sure.
So they want to see is he the same player after his knee? And that's been my biggest goal, is just to be playing how I used to play college.
Well, I tell you what, you've been making a mark with the Sioux Falls Storm defense. The other night up in Bismarck, you had a pick six from 36 yards out. Tell us about that play.
Yeah, it was a good play. It was actually, I was just in the right spot, but it was really the defensive line putting pressure on the quarterback. They got to him. They were getting to him all night, making him, fuzzy back there. So he didn't throw the best pass, and it was all the D-line and linebackers on perfect pressure. So I was in the right place at the right time. So it was all them.
That defensive line must have picked up some blocks for you, because you weren't even touched on that return, were you?
Yeah, I know. It was a straight shot to the end zone. So all I had to do was run.
Well, for the year, you have 10 tackles. You have 5 tackles for loss, and that's not always easy to accomplish when you're playing in that defensive secondary. Tell us what allows you to be able to get those tackles for loss coming from the deep secondary.
Yeah, well, it's just it's really scheme and just being at the right place at the right time. And it's all about, if other people are doing their job, then it allows me to be in the right spot. So it's kind of a team effort, and from people being in their position, it allows me to make the play when I'm supposed to. So it's all a team thing, and I'm just blessed to be doing the right thing.
Right now we're talking with Matt McCoy, defensive back with the Sioux Falls Storm. And one of the things that's over the years that I have seen and heard so many different times, there's players that have come and gone, and one of the reasons that they're gone is the fact that they don't buy into the fact that doing your job doesn't always mean making the tackle or making the coverage or making the interception, does it?
No, it does not. It does not. Football is such a team sport, and that's I was actually talking to some of my teammates before the game and just saying how I would definitely have my kids play football, just because the principles you learn as a football player are second to none. You learn how to be selfless, and it doesn't mean you're always going to be on the face of the TV, or you're not always going to be scoring the touchdown, but as long as you're doing your job, at the end of the day, the team's going to get the win. I always think of it as, well, in outdoor football, there's 11 on 11. So there's 11 battles going on during the game. As long as you win your battle, then, the team's more likely to win the war. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about doing your part and doing your job.
talking with Matt McCoy of the Sioux Falls Storm. Game coming up on Friday, March 22nd, as the Storm hosts the Quad City Steamwheelers. The first 1,000 kids there, 12 and under, get a Storm replica jersey, courtesy of Waterbury Heating and Cooling and Coleman Heating and Air Conditioning. So check it out. Come out to the Storm game Friday night. First 1,000 kids get a free jersey to take on home. Now, tell us a little bit about how it's been for you to transition from 11-man football to playing indoor football for the first time here in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing about it is actually the game is a lot faster. You know, the ball's coming out quicker. People are coming up to you faster. You know, receivers are getting to you a lot faster. So your reaction time has to be a lot quicker. That's something I'm still, getting used to, but learning, as I go. And at the end of the day, everybody out here is an athlete, so you still got to compete. There's no walk in the park. There's guys who have similar stories to me who have been at big colleges, and they have great accolades, but they're in the same position trying to move up. So it's not like, there's just a bunch of wannabes out here. These are all, legit athletes and legit players.
Yeah, so many of you are just one small step away from making it to a higher level, and the competition level. And when you play these guys each and every week, you realize just how good the league is with talent. But then again, it's your opponent of the team during practice is what makes you better. Tell us what it's like to go up against these wide receivers for the Sioux Falls Storm that are so talented.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have some very talented receivers. We got Shep, Chapman, and D Ford. These guys are, they're just legit receivers, and they do their job, and they compete and challenge us at practice. So it's real competitive at practice, especially during one-on-ones. That's like one of the most competitive things that the receivers and DBs have. So every day that we do one-on-ones, it's a lot of barking, a lot of yelling, and it's real physical, but it's fun because we get better, and it's all about competing. That's the great thing about football is that it's you're allowed to compete and be aggressive and let it all out. But at the end of the day, we're there to make each other better.
Talking with Matt McCoy of the Sioux Falls Storm, defensive back. One thing about it, you find out in a hurry that wall does not give at all, does it?
No, not at all. Not at all. That actually happened this past weekend. I was trying to go up for a pass breakup. I almost fell over the wall, but luckily I got saved by the ref.
Well, at some point in time, you will wind up going over the wall. Everybody that's covering on a pass or a receiver at some point in time will go over the wall, and the concrete is a lot harder than that very thin carpet that you're playing on.
Yeah, it is. So, I got blessed by and the carpet is still hard itself. So, it's not too far away from that concrete, but it's a lot better.
Well, I tell you what, Matt, thanks for being a part of the Curtis Riggs Show tonight. Also, thank you for being a part of the Sioux Falls Storm. We really welcome you and glad to have you a part of this team.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and go Storm.
We'll see you Friday night.
All right. Goodbye.
Matt McCoy, defensive back with the Sioux Falls Storm. And coming up when we go to the break, we'll take your third call, 336-1234, free tickets for the game on Friday night, and brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Your house is not...
The Rosties wanted their new house to be unique, so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat and Glow or Heatlator dealer. Fireplace Pros, Heat and Glow, and Heatlator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And every week, our game preview interview with Storm head coach Curtis Riggs is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, 917 South Cliff Avenue, working to further enhance deliveries in Sioux Falls by supplementing their delivery staff with a third-party delivery service so that you will get your subs not only baked fresh, sliced fresh, but also delivered fresh. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Coach, It's going to be good to be back home, isn't it?
Well, for a lot of our guys, they have no idea what that's like.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. It's like for you and I it is, but for them, yeah, they will see a different situation because they'll have fans screaming for them.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll play in a beautiful facility, one that they haven't been in yet. I mean, they don't even know where the players enter the Premier Center yet. So, this week we have to go back and really try to think of all the things that we have so many new guys. What have they not experienced yet with playing at home?
And the thing about it is that you also got to get the carpet out. That's been in storage for a long time, and try to get that thing straightened out for the game. There's so many things that go in getting ready for that first home game that a lot of people don't realize it. And for you, just getting the team acclimated to playing at home, that's the first step.
Right, it will be. I mean, it's different playing at home. It's fun, it's exhilarating, it's great playing in front of your home fans, but there's also some added pressure that comes with it playing in front of our fans here.
We have the Quad City Steamwheelers coming into town that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show about their quarterback, E.J. Hilliard. Last year he played in the CIF. He had about 2,000 yards passing, 48 touchdowns. This year he's got 534 yards passing already, 12 touchdowns already, no interceptions. Also the leading rusher with 87 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he is the total package and really ideal stats for an indoor football quarterback.
Well, he's got some really nice receivers to throw to. Some big targets that bring some good speed. They use their body well. And they're not afraid to run him, too. They run him and get a lot of positive yards with him to try to stay ahead on the chains.
And he's been able to pass it around a bit. He's got several players that have caught passes, but he has 2 receivers that each have 5 touchdowns. One has 13 receptions, the other one has 12, so he has a couple of key weapons that he relies upon, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He has some go-to guys, but it's not like he's really forcing it to them. I mean, they're open. They do a good job, managing and spreading the ball around and then continually finding ways to run him.
Defensively, let's talk about the Steamwheelers a little bit defensively. Denzel McDaniel and Laquel Bass are the leading tacklers. Tell us about the defense.
I think everything starts with their D-line, though, Rich. I think, they have some fast, athletic D-ends. Like Alfred is their best one, and he didn't play this last week against Cedar. I would expect he'll be playing against us. He's extremely explosive, very fast, is very relentless, gets a lot of personal fouls, but just keeps playing hard, and he continues to play hard. And then, their other end, Jones, or, they just signed another D lineman that we would expect will play this week against us. They have a good group of frontline guys that really are the key for their entire defense.
So overall, as the total package, looking at the Steamwheelers, tell us what really they are the best at and what the Storm is going to have to work to counter that.
Well, I think they try to keep pressure on you, meaning defensively, they try to continually blitz you and get their D-line after you to force you to make mistakes. And then offensively, they try to continually keep pressure on you by attacking, either with positive yards with the quarterback or throwing the ball downfield to their big receivers.
Well, Coach, best of you. We'll talk to you before the game on Friday night.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. They're baked fresh, sliced fresh, and delivered fresh. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Man, that's good. Back right after this.
The Sheraton Sioux Falls Hotel is proud to...
When should you visit Sioux Falls Urgent Care? When that common cold is not so common. When that chicken definitely needed 2 more minutes. Or when you shouldn't have done it yourself. Sioux Falls Urgent Care specializes in medical fixes for life's glitches. We're faster than the ER at a fraction of the cost. So, when you're down from a sofa stage dive, see us. Walk-ins are welcome and most insurance is accepted. Visit Sioux Falls Urgent Care today.
Hey guys, Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler here. I'm here at one of my favorite places in the entire world, the wrestling room. But if there's one thing we know about wrestling rooms, they can get extremely dirty. We're talking skin infections, we're talking about funk, we're talking about smelly armpits, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. So, my friends at Pure and Clean Sports came up with an awesome solution. Spray it right on your skin, wipe it off, smells great, keeps you clean from the time you leave the mats to the time you can get home and shower. Not only is it the greatest skin defense in the entire world, it's the safest. Check them out, pureandcleansports.com.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Roski.
And this weekend, it's the Storm playing on Friday night, not Saturday, against the Quad City Steamwheelers. First 1,000 kids, 12 and under, get a replica jersey courtesy of Woodbury Heating and Cooling and Coleman Heating and Air Conditioning. I want to thank our sponsors, the official Storm Sports Medicine provider, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm's official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls. And also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Now, after we go off there, we'll have another Storm game ticket giveaway brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And we'll take your third call at 336-1230 for the game this Friday night. 4 free tickets for the Quad City Steamrollers game. Our thanks to the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, along with our guests, Darian Miller and Matt McCoy. Also, I always want to thank John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer, for making the Curtis Riggs show run so smoothly. Folks, thanks for making us a part of your evening, and we'll talk to you again next week. And you've been listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.